Why are so many people suddenly looking to leave the UK? And how is the 2025 autumn budget fast-tracking AI job replacements? Well, I sat down with my accountant to get the answers, and the implications for property investors are pretty big. We've covered the entire budget, the 2% stamp duty surcharge, limited company structures, and dividend tax changes. But we also went deeper into why this is accelerating AI job replacements and why there's a genuine wealth exodus happening right now in the UK. I've timestamped all the key sections if you want to jump around this video. But most importantly, we've identified where the actual opportunities are post this budget. Because while amateur landlords are getting squeezed out, there's a clear path forward for professional operators who understand the market. And if you're new here, I'm Jim and I run a HMO business in the northwest of England. My brother and I are building a portfolio through joint venture partnership, and understanding exactly how the budget impacts our strategy is critical. So this is a detailed breakdown with my accountants, no speculation. And if you're serious about property investing, make sure you hit the subscribe button and fill out our investor waitlist down below. And let's get into it. Mark, we've just had reaction from the budget. Budget's just come in. What is your general take so far?
I think it's not as bad as I expected.
Yeah.
There's always talk on every budget. One of the things that people are always concerned about is lowering the VAT threshold. That gets mentioned every year. I thought if there was going to be a budget that could get changed on it, be this one, and it didn't. Obviously, a lot of talk about national insurance.
Yep.
And potentially people paying national insurance on rental income. Had loads of clients reacting to that. So yeah, there was things that are going to affect people. The salary sacrifice with the pension, obviously big one for employed people. And yeah, few other changes, and freezing tax rates isn't great. But to be honest, for self-employed people who are self-employed during the day, as well as having other businesses, I think it was relatively positive.
Relatively positive, yeah.
Whereas employed people are probably saying something different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting that was one of the things. Obviously, still working full time. The salary sacrifice one, that is just feels like with that one, if you're trying to put stuff into your pension, look towards your future, they're just getting a hand in.
Yeah, and to be honest, I have conflicting views on pensions, especially for someone that's self-employed. But everyone that's employed, I always say, you know, why not get the tax relief now, put it into something that's going to grow? And yeah, and the other thing is that so many people will do this for other things, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you play the system and people will do it to get their 3 hours for the childcare.
Yeah.
And there's other factors that this is going to have an impact on as well, not just tax.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the way I think about it, I don't know if you agree, is they sort of set the rules, and it's up to you how you play the game.
Yeah, you're right. And I always say, I've said this for years, put 10 accountants in a room, ask one question, you'll get 10 answers.
Yeah.
But the problem with something like salary sacrifice is it's so black and white, isn't it? That what can you do? Well,
it's literally, it's like the question is, do you want to pay this in tax, or do you want this going into your pension? Yeah. That's the simple question.
So it's now down to employers to be creative on building packages, but again, the hands are going to be tied quite a bit. So yeah, we'll see.
I mean, from a property specific point of view, one of the big things she come out was this sort of mansion tax, about the extra levy. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I don't think it's right the way that we tax the system. If you look at it impartially and go across everyone, I kind of go, well, that's only going to hit a certain amount of people, isn't it? And probably people with smaller properties, landlords with smaller properties, are probably thinking, well, you know, we've not been stung like we expected. Everyone has their own views on property. I think for me, I do like having private landlords. I think they contribute so much to the economy. We can't deal with public housing, and that's one of the things. Yeah. So, you know, at least we're not hitting hard those type of people. I'm not saying I agree with the mansion tax, but if you're going to go after someone, why not them?
Do you think that's going to have any impact on the sort of property markets in any way?
I don't really know, because I think the people that are spending that kind of money on properties, and especially as investment properties as well, you know, you don't see that a lot. Is it going to stop them doing what they're doing? You know, probably not. We were talking before, you know, I live out Cheshire way, and we see it a lot where there's big properties selling for big money, and you think, who's buying these properties? Or people are paying tens of thousands to rent properties. Yeah. It's all footballers, people coming over here on contracts, and you think, well, that's not going to stop them, is it?
Yeah, I suppose not. I think it's definitely going to be the lion's share in places like London, you know, because the property values there are just absolutely astronomical. Aren't they?
Yeah, obviously they're not growing like they did in the past, but yeah, there are going to be certain people that get impacted there, which, yeah, that, I suppose when you look at it that sense, that's not fair that just because it's a city.
Yeah.
But if you spoke to everyone and you said, well, income tax was rising by 1-2%, or there was this tax, you know everyone's going to vote for a tax like this.
Yeah, because it's someone else who's going to pay it, isn't it? Yeah.
And again, not saying I agree, but I kind of always think if you're going after the higher earners, then normally the population's quite happy.
Yeah, well, generally everyone's a bit more palatable to that, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the stuff like the salary sacrifice, that feels like it hits the people. If you're relatively switched on, you want to invest into your pension, you're trying to look after your own future, and then again they're hitting that again. That's where.
And I always think that they do, and regardless of whether it's Tory or Labour, we always seem to go after the people that want to make a little bit more. You know, the working class people that are now trying to have a pension pot, trying to have some rental income, trying to have some other source of income for family as well, and they're the ones they always go after.
Going to lose. Well, onto that, I think definitely the shift I've seen over probably the last, probably since Labour have come in with the Renters Reform Bill and this budget yesterday, with that 2% increase on tax for property income.
Yeah.
It feels like to me the death of the amateur landlord with a couple of buy-to-lets in their own personal name, that is just, the government are clear they don't want those people.
Yeah, and I saw that yesterday, and a lot of people will rightly be angry about that. I am thinking it's potentially not going to impact people as much as people first think. We've got a lot of landlords that have been landlords for 20, 30 years that have already gone, selling out, can't be bothered. It tends to be younger landlords that don't know how good it used to be, who are still getting involved. And to be honest, a lot more landlords now are switched on, are going down the company route, or they're presenting their figures in a certain way or doing certain things on their tax return where they're not paying tax or minimal tax anyway. And is that really going to hurt them? I don't think so too much, and especially with interest rates being so high, with people being able to offset that interest, that is helping. But yeah, for my clients, there's things that can be done about that additional 2%.
Yeah, and that was definitely my takeaway, because I'm sort of in that camp you've just spoke about there, the newer generation. It's always been a limited company for me, you know, never known owning it in my personal name. So it's just like, all right, okay, it's not really hit me. The only thing I thought is, okay, that's just going to, any remaining private landlords with properties in the personal name, it's going to fast track that. Might be some more opportunity to buy for people like me, possibly, if they just want to go.
It's tough to say. I think for me, I'd say 90% of my older landlords have already sold or packed in or passing on. Or
was that off the back of the mortgage interest relief?
Yeah, it started then, and people were already talking about it then and looking at the company structures and so on. So, you know, pre-COVID, and then obviously as every year's come, things have changed. Other things have been implemented. Yeah, they've just got.
Yeah, because that was 2015 when that happened, wasn't it? And then since then we've just had, you know, more legislation, interest rate rises. It's just it's got more it's a more difficult space to operate in.
But I think, you know, to give credit to younger people, a lot of people in the past would always just buy a property. And I'd always speak to them when they come and see me and go, right, what are you buying it for? Oh, well, I don't know, that's what my dad did, or that's what my uncle did.
Someone's told me to do it,
whereas now I think with younger people, it's, right, I want a property and I want rental income off it. So I'm going to go and finance them all to the max because I want rental income right now. You've got others that go, I don't care about the yield, I want capital appreciation.
It's like a piggy bank for me.
Well, it's a stepping stone. I'm going to go and live in this house to then get a better house, but then I'm not going to sell this, I'm going to rent it out. And so I think because people are more switched on and thinking about why they're actually investing in property, you see in the company structure as well.
So people are going into it with more clear outcomes, I suppose, now. Do you put that down to maybe the internet, just generally there's more information swirling around, people are a bit more engaged? I
think the internet's definitely helped. A lot of people on social media, and again, be careful what you see and you know how you interpret things. But there's a lot more out there than there was years ago. There's a lot more people that are doing this. The information's more easily accessible, which isn't a bad thing.
One of the other big takeaways was the increase on the 2% increase on dividends. Do you see that having an impact really for anyone?
Not really, no, because I think we've already had an increase in dividend tax now, and it is a relatively low tax that you're paying on dividends. Again, I'm more concerned over some employed people who don't have that flexibility in it. So they may get a small dividend from their company or someone else's company. From my side of things, how we can structure payment out of a limited company, it doesn't necessarily need to be dividends.
Right.
I've always thought dividend tax was low. But again, just like the rental, we're going back, I don't even know if you're aware of this, but many, many years ago, you could have near enough 50 grand in dividends, or total income, salary and dividends, and you wouldn't pay tax on it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then years ago, they brought in the tax rates where it was then, it was 7.5%, and we're going up and up, and we're still going to be under 20% tax, which lots of people have been concerned about, that they would get hit with a 20% dividend tax.
Wow. God, that's crazy. You can definitely understand stuff like that, why the old school landlords were.
Well, contractors at the time were paying next to no corporation tax and then could take all the money out of the company tax-free.
Oh, 50 grand.
Well, it was, the basic rate band.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that was going back now. Maybe it was more like 40 odd, but that's what
it's still a lot, isn't it? Because a lot of people do a lot of jiggery-piggery to sort of try and get as much out as tax-free as they can, don't they?
And again, that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah.
And some people will want to pay the dividend tax, some won't. 2% in the grand scheme of things isn't a massive amount.
It's not. It's not going to ruin things for you. What's your general thought on the threshold there, the income tax thresholds being frozen? And can you sort of explain what this? Because lots of people since that's been announced have been talking about this fiscal drag. Can you explain to people what that means? Because a lot of people I've spoken to are generally a bit confused about that.
I think the easiest way to explain it is people who want to do a little bit better, like we talked about before, probably aren't in a minimum wage job. And I'm generalising there. What people are concerned about is that minimum wage is a set level. And we know that through inflation and other things, minimum wage has gone up. Whether we agree or not, that's what's happened.
Yeah, that's the reality.
We're not then seeing that step up. So let's talk about accountancy firms. You could have an office junior who's now on a minimum salary. I could have an accountant who's probably not earning that much more than that office junior. So every time the minimum wage goes up, are we as a business then meant to put everyone else's wages up by that amount? We know in reality that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is basically essentially closing the gap between lower paid earners and higher paid earners.
So the bottom level is just coming higher.
Yeah, so again, let's go back years ago and go, right, minimum wage was 12 grand and you might have had an accountant on 25. Well, this 12 grand now might be 25 and that accountant might be on 30.
Yeah.
And they've had the increase, but is that in line? And a lot of people are saying to me now, what is the point in doing these qualifications, going to university and getting debt, wasting my time putting in additional time to job, career, education, whatever it may be, to not have that gap extended, yet the country won't be able to afford it. So with the freeze in tax rates, I feel like, again, these people that most of my clients are, who have probably been working class, come from council estates, who are now trying to better themselves, they're just going to end up paying more tax because we've got the landlord tax, the dividend tax, we've got the salary sacrifice. And then now we're freezing these rates. So, okay, they may get an increase, but still effectively it's a pay decrease from where they were years ago. And we're freezing tax rates. So your salary is going to go up and you're going to pay a bit more tax.
So off the back of that then, if you're having conversations with maybe the sort of next generation of accountants, as it would be, do you think it's concerning that people are saying those things to you when we're entering the sort of, the AI sort of decade, that's going to dominate over the next 10 years? And essentially, if you're to cut through the chat, what the government's saying there is it's going to be more expensive for businesses to employ people, and people going into these qualifications are questioning return on investment for themselves. Whilst AI is, it's changing every single bloody month, isn't it?
Yeah. It's deeply concerning for me for where this country is going to be in the future. And AI is going to play a part, of course, but it can't do everything.
No.
And one of the things that I'm seeing, I don't know what it was like for you growing up, but I used to get told you work a weekend. Never questioned it. I worked the weekend. I get paid. I may not get paid. It was, you kept your boss happy. If someone offered me some extra money, I would take it and I would work. The next generation aren't like that. they're saying, no, I want my weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that they want their time off. But what I'm seeing is, there's not the same potential work ethic.
Okay.
And maybe that is because they're not getting rewarded. But who's then going to be the next generation that are going to be running the building firms and setting up their own businesses that we need?
It's interesting because it's going to be, certainly my view on that stuff is when the sort of AI revolution takes a grip of the economy, it's going to be people will be sat there looking around, and it'll be the plumbers, it'll be the sparks, and everyone will be like, where are these people?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting. When I was in secondary school, my school tried to push a lot of people towards university, and myself and Dan ended up getting an apprenticeship, and it was strange, sort of like after you'd been through that process, maybe like 5 years later, you'd be sat in the pub with everyone who went to university, and they'd be sort of be like castigating like maybe a sparky who was earning really good money, working 7 days a week but earning really good money, and they went to university, got a degree, and they were looking for a graduate job, and they were starting at like 25 grand, and they were like, oh, sparky's earning like 60, 70 grand, and it's like, well, it's because everyone sort of got pushed down this university route, and traditional vocational stuff sort of got forgotten about. It feels like that's going to come full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happened to me. There was a job that I wanted. I told the careers advisor. We had connections. I don't know if it was connections for you. And it was basically, stop your pipe dream, pick a real job. You're not going to get that job. You need to go to university. You need to do this. You need to do that. Anyway, I ended up accountants. I went down the apprenticeship route as well. So instead of going to university, we were coming out with 3 years worth of experience.
Invaluable, isn't it, that?
Yeah, at the same level as someone with a degree without the debt. And again, went on, did extra qualifications, and you're seeing other people that have come out of university, then working in Asda and Costco and having to do that just until they wait for that graduate position that may or may not come.
And it always felt like when I was speaking to the people going for the graduate jobs, what would always get thrown at them was the lack of experience. Yeah. And it was a bit unfair in a way, because it felt like the game was set against people, because definitely when I was growing up, it was like, because my parents' generation didn't go to university, they seen university as like the social mobility lever to get out of the working class situation. And when people actually got to the end of that, the reality it wasn't.
No, and I'm a huge fan of apprenticeships. I think that's something that we should push more, but there's a huge stigma with it. Yeah. And I don't think the government helps when you've got all the politicians that have gone to university. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no one who's sort of been on the tools as it would be, and then come through a political party or a government, and got to those senior positions, even in like the Labour Party. A lot of their front benches still went to But then is this something that we're going to see through social media? I hope so. Possibly, yeah. You'd like to think so. You'd like to think so.
But the other thing is that I talk to people about, and I mentioned before, I've got a young son. Is this the country I want him growing up in? Well,
so that was going to be one of my next questions, because there's definitely been a change. Probably since Labour have come in, a lot of business owners, a lot of property people I've spoke to, everyone's sort of like going to the Dubais of the world or going elsewhere. Are you seeing a lot of that with your clients?
Oh, massively. Yeah. And, from this area, we've got clients from the northeast as well, but from this area, a lot of us have been brought up that you vote Labour. Yeah. And you don't know why. You're a kid and you're told you vote Labour, you vote Labour.
That's it. Yeah.
And as you get older, you can make your own mind up and you understand why you're being told that. And I think a lot of people, especially around here, thought, Labour are going to come along, they're going to look after us. And again, regardless of political party, they're not looking after the people who want that little bit more. So those types of people who can relocate, Dubai has become so popular. The amount of clients that have spoken to me about that. We've got people going back offshore who are then saying, well, I'm not going to come back into the UK. I'll go to Spain, I'll go to France, so I'm not coming back into the UK.
And is that because, like we spoke about then, the reality is the dividend tax has gone up 2%. Yeah. It doesn't feel like a 2% increase would be the reason people would do that. What is it?
I think it's a combination of things. I think a lot of self-employed people have still got issues with COVID and how things happen then. Right. A lot of self-employed people weren't happy with the grants and the support that they got. Yeah. Some were, but a lot weren't. And we got these loans, but they had to be paid back. And a lot of people argued about, well, why are other people getting free support? I think COVID has changed people. Not saying it's for the worse or the better, but people have reflected on their lives and they want that work-life balance.
Right.
So again, it's some of it, well, I'm frustrated because I'm self-employed and I didn't get what I think I deserve. Now, because of COVID, I got to work from home, or I saw people working from home, and there is more of a work-life balance. And actually, I don't want to be in the UK. So many people who have got their own businesses, they might be a plumber or an engineer, have now gone to work for firms so they can have the 9 to 5 back. And I think that shift has just made people so fed up, and it may be that they're a landlord as well. There may be something else going on. They're then frustrated with the way the country's being run. There's other things that they're concerned about, whether it be education or something else.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a combination of everything. Interest rates probably haven't helped.
Yeah.
And then it's, well, what am I here for? You know, the country's a mess.
Yeah.
We haven't got the weather. You know, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be in this country.
Wow.
Many years ago, I decided we were leaving. I was going to keep this business, and I was going to come over here, and I was going to come from Ireland.
Right.
I can commute over easy enough.
40-minute flight in as well.
And again, we're seeing people doing that with France that are working in London or, you know, South Coast and are commuting in from France.
Wow.
Like Ireland's economy is one that gets joked about, yet it's stronger than the UK's.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I was always of the, I definitely fell into that camp. I was like, oh, Ireland, you know, it sort of essentially went bankrupt, you know, 10 years ago or whatever.
You know, and I have my own opinions, and there's things that they're doing in Ireland that I think we should replicate in the UK, but yeah.
So something I do know about Ireland is their private rented sector is not going well over there.
No.
But so interestingly on that, one of the, I was reading yesterday about the Office for Budget Responsibility.
Yeah.
We're talking about this 2% increase in property income for the landlords with stuff in the personal name, and they openly admitted that going to reduce rental stock.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, do you think the government's actually care about tenants? Because
no.
And this is the perverse thing, isn't it?
It's tough because you've asked me that, and that was just my initial response. But then if you strip that back and you go, well, they've brought in all these additional rights for tenants. Why though? So I suppose, you know, there must be an element of that. I will have clients now that if they're watching this will be screaming at me and saying that it's a conspiracy theory and they want to push landlords out. Maybe it's that. But
I think something I've noticed is they definitely don't want the landlords with like 1 to 3 who they perceive as don't look after the properties very well.
Yes.
And that sort of stuff. And they definitely, and this is the interesting thing generally, I think private equity is getting a hold in a lot of aspects of this country.
Yeah.
And I think that could potentially happen with residential property as well.
Yeah, but again, that's something that concerns me. So you've got one rental property, let's say, you want to look after that because you want it to go up in value, or you want it to sell, you want a good yield, you don't want your tenant trashing the property. If I'm now an MP and I've got my own company, or I've got 100 rental properties, am I really going to care?
This is the counterintuitive thing about the things governments do, don't they? Because if you're a tenant and you fall on hard times and you're going to BlackRock and saying like, I've just lost my job, can there be some sort of like forbearance about my rent? They're not going to. It would be someone in a job and what's the process for this? Process is no.
Do you know one of the things, now you've said that I speak to clients about all the time with rental property? They come to me and go, oh, I've got this tenant and this is how much I get in rent. You know, I'm getting 650. I could get 800 if I got a new tenant. Are you getting a new tenant? No. Why aren't you getting a new tenant? I know this tenant. They've been there a year, 10 years, 20 years.
Steady ship.
Exactly. They look after the property. So you've got landlords like that who actually care, who go, I don't want to go and get more money. This is an easier life for me, or I like this person. Are BlackRock going to make that decision?
No, definitely not. Do you think the challenge with the UK private rental sector is the word profit?
Yeah.
Because there's a perception in the UK where you housing equals profit and then everyone's head falls off.
Yeah, and I think, you know, no one does what they do to be nice. Everyone is doing everything to make a profit.
100%, yeah.
So, you know, I feel that there is a bad rap with landlords. Oh, well, you're just trying to get a profit. You're trying to get this, you're trying to get that. Yeah, but everyone is doing the same thing. You know, we don't go to work because we want to go to work. You might love your job, but there's days you do not want to go to work. You know, everyone is doing everything for money. I have a business because I want to make money. And you see other people who are doing exactly the same thing. Yes, landlords are there because they want to make money, but they're performing a good service along the way.
100%.
And they used to make lots of profit. Now, is that them doing something wrong because they're in a sector where that's what they can do?
Yeah.
And you could question that about every single business.
Oh, food, energy,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't have the same moral conversation when it comes to those. You know, people are going around Aldi or Tesco.
Yeah.
They're not like, well, why isn't this all free?
Yeah. So, I go into Tesco, right, I lost my job this week and you knock some money off. No. Whereas you go to your landlord, okay, well, let's come up for payment.
Let's work with something, yeah.
We did it in COVID. We had people that couldn't afford to pay us. They didn't pay us.
Yeah.
I didn't go, right, well, we're not acting for you.
Yeah.
It was COVID. It was tough. We got through it and we've come up with plans since.
Yeah, it does seem, it's such a bizarre little quirk of it. I don't know if it's British culture or what, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, and definitely my opinion, until that changes, I think it's just going to get worse for tenants because rents are just going to carry on going up and up and up.
Yeah, but what can change?
Unsure. That's the challenge. But onto that, where do you see the opportunities when out this budget? Maybe 25 to 2030. Do you see opportunities in the property space?
I think you're gonna have a lot more people giving up properties.
Yeah.
Like I touched on before, a lot of giving up properties anyway. I think there will be opportunities there. I keep hoping interest rates are going to come down.
Yeah.
There hasn't been the big drastic rule change. Yes, there's lots of little rule change that aren't great, but there's not been the big drastic rule change that I was kind of expecting. The people that were putting that money into their pensions now are going to have extra money. What are they going to be doing with that? So yeah, I think there will be opportunities. I don't know when, but I think overall interest rates are going to come down. There's going to be properties getting sold off. I think things will stabilise in this country and we'll see people wanting to move again, and I think that will just free up the whole market.
Right, yeah, you want to see people come back in as soon as maybe the ship gets a bit steadier,
Yeah.
Interest rates cool off a bit. Yeah, well, and that's the interesting thing about budgets and all this sort of stuff when political parties leak stuff. What every single investor and every single business owner, I'm sure you'll agree with this, they just want some certainty.
Yeah.
Because when there's certainty, people can act and plan and make decisions. And when you're juggling and the balls are in the air, everyone just goes, resorts, I'm gonna go safe. Okay, I might lose a bit of money, but I'm gonna protect myself.
One of the things we talk about all the time is incorporation relief, and people are going, well, do I want to move my properties over to a limited company? And I go, right, if you do that, there's two options. One is a hypothetical tax figure that years to come. One, you pay the tax now. Like you said, everyone will have to pay the tax now because it's certainty.
Certainty, yeah, it's a guarantee.
And yeah, we haven't got that at the minute, have we?
Yeah.